Comfort Zone with Ray Comfort. Thought-provoking. Informative. Engaging. Are you ready to be inspired and equipped? And now, the Comfort Zone with Ray Comfort.
Welcome to the Comfort Zone with Ray Comfort, where randomness is the only predictable thing, like Charlie horses in the midst of broadcasts.
Hey, purple.
My eyes are twitching.
Purple is the color of royalty. Did you know that?
Oh,
And
look
black
at
is the
that.
color of
Royal Ray.
Black is the color of sin.
Ray, this is what a nice handkerchief. What's so funny, Ray?
I cut it off my...
Ladies and gentlemen, you tell me who on earth would cut a shirt and make
feel
a
naked
handkerchief.
without that. Where is it? There we
Yes, folks, where randomness is the only predictable thing.
You look like the mafia, but I like the look.
You like it? Let me tell you something. So, Ray, speaking of randomness, let me fix this here for you.
Oh, thank you.
What's happening with your new painting career? I
It's going really well.
Yeah,
yes.
I see that almost at the top of the chart of paintings in terms of bids is some guy with a big beard who recently spoke about very
Yes.
controversial
It's
issues.
very popular, so it's very exciting.
That's great. Yeah, we've been talking about the fact that Ray's taken up a new hobby. For those of you that weren't with us yesterday, he's discovered at the age of...
64.
Ooh, I almost didn't say it. You
I
said
know
64.
you've been told not to say that.
64. He's discovered that he's a brilliant painting. No, not really. 'Cause that's what you're about to say.
I can paint a house, but then I didn't realize I could paint people.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and Ray is putting these up and giving the money to charity. So what a blessing.
It is. It's very exciting. I enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
I'm going to experiment with atheism, become an atheist for a week, and not use any paint and see if a painting involves.
That is crazy. Mark Spence, any random things happening in your world these days?
No. He looks like the mafia too.
Mark, can you speak like a mafia man?
No. Only you.
Oh, randomness. All right, friends, on to the program. Oh, by the way, remember to check us out on YouTube, our YouTube channel. We know some of you watch us live. Others of you may have come across the program just surfing YouTube, but we have a channel, youtube.com/The Way of the Master. Subscribe. I think we're at 73,000 subscribers. By God's grace, it's one of the largest Christian YouTube channels on YouTube. So please subscribe and connect and pass the word on.
That's very exciting.
Yeah, it is
Thanks
very
a lot.
exciting. And remember to check us out on Facebook as well, on Twitter, and on tczlive.com. All right, on to the story of the day. Group unveils Satan statue design for Oklahoma.
This is just about as silly as this the
I
atheist
know, they
church.
keep getting worse and worse. A satanic group unveiled designs Monday for a 7-foot-tall statue of Satan it wants to put at the Oklahoma State Capitol, where a Ten Commandments monument was placed in 2012. The New York-based Satanic Temple formally submitted its application to a panel that oversees the Capitol grounds. Wow.
Can we keep that up a little? So if people are going to sit on it, if they stand up, they're going to hit their head on the nose or something. So, and how do
like a moose.
how do they know what Satan looks like? What is it? Sort of a semi-sheep goat type
Right.
thing?
Is that the Baphomet? Is that what they call that? The
Right.
Baphomet symbol, Alan? Yeah. How do you know that, Alan?
So it's to do with sheep and goats. Jesus, I think, where he says the sheep follow him, the goats belong to the devil, and that's why they do that at the goats sign of
Yeah.
the goat at rock concerts, I guess.
Yeah, and they're getting emboldened because they're saying, hey, listen, we're supposed to have separation of church and state. You guys are letting a Ten Commandments monument be placed there, and so we should be able to put our thing there and let little kids come and sit on the lap of Satan. Something weird about that. So, Mark Spence, what do you think of that? I mean, is this silliness? Is this kind of akin to the atheist monument that our friend Eric Hovind stood atop and preached the gospel? Is this an opportunity for the gospel to be preached? Do you think this should be shot down? Give us your brilliant
Well, I think
expertise
everything
and
is
opinion.
an opportunity to share the gospel. Am I all for a statue being placed? No, I'm not. But I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised either. When you teach inside of the universities that there is no such thing as right or wrong, that everybody can make up their own mind concerning anything moral, well, and also that we've evolved from monkeys, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised when something like this takes place. I'm excited to see if the ACLU is going to step in and begin to say separation of Satan and state? I'm not sure what the comment would be at that point. But yeah, this is a time. It's always a good time whenever anything religious is inside of the news that we can use this as a platform to preach the gospel. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll ever come to pass. I mean, they can slow the procedure so that it gets okayed in 3 or 4 or 5 years,
Right.
I guess.
Well, they're halfway there on their fundraising. They're
Yeah,
trying to
we're
raise
$20,000.
Yeah, they're at 10,000.
And they'll get it with this publicity because
sure.
the world loves this sort of thing.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's kind of stupid.
Yeah.
And they want kids to come and sit on the lap of Satan. The whole world lies in the lap of Satan. He's the God of this world who blinded the minds of those that believe not. So he came to kill, steal, and destroy. And when you become a Christian, you come out of the kingdom of darkness, serving Satan, into the kingdom of light, serving God. So, do you remember we interviewed a Satanist?
Yes, our good friend Jack.
You remember his name?
Well, I was a guy that had to find the representative of Satan. You know, it was an exciting job.
So he was the first Church of Satan in Los Angeles?
Right.
He's a very nice guy.
Very nice guy.
Yeah.
In fact, I just talked about him this past Sunday. I shared a sermon, and I was talking about being representatives of Christ. And he sent me an email in our correspondence. He said, I just want to be sure I'll be treated respectfully as a representative or as an agent of the Church of Satan. And I mean, it's just so weird, even saying that Church of Satan, you know, it sounds bizarre. Yeah. But honestly, this guy was one of the most respectful, one of the most loyal, one of the most faithful guys I've ever met.
Showed up on time.
Showed up on time, sent us a thank you letter afterwards, was very cordial, polite. You know, seriously, he put a lot of Christians to shame.
And he put us right. These guys haven't got their doctrine right. Satan just means, the Church of Satan, you just serve yourself.
Right.
I'm on the throne. I'm the king. Do you remember we gave him an honorarium and he opened it up on the way home in his car?
Yeah.
Do you remember what was in the honorarium? The
oh, you
butterfly.
put the...
I got one of these on. And he just about went off the freeway. This is a little wind-up butterfly that
Ray
flies
tried to
around.
kill a Satanist. Shame on you, Ray.
So he was delighted that he got his honorarium for spending time with us. He didn't expect it, but he says, we just went off the freeway. They thought it was really funny. Anyway, these are great little things.
Right.
Gospel
Yeah,
message.
so anyhow, it was amazing to see that. But friends, just to let you know, sometimes there's confusion. A lot of times people think Satanists are kind of, you know, the stereotypical devil worshippers per se.
Yeah, sacrificing cats at midnight.
We know they are devil worshippers, obviously, though indirectly, but they're not of the ilk that actually believe in a real Satan. They would typically be atheists, and there are different sects. Of course, the gentleman we interviewed was from the Church of Satan, founded by Anton LaVey. This is the Satanic Temple, which I believe is different, but holds to the same type of philosophies. Here's what they say on their website. Satanism is not mindless abandon and depravity, but a philosophy that drives us to lead fruitful and dignified Epicurean lives.
Phooey. They do their services naked. Come on! Get real. Be honest.
Stop sugarcoating it,
Yeah.
Satanist. But yeah, and I mean, you know, talk about Satan disguising himself as an angel of light. They say the mission of the Satanic Temple is to encourage benevolence and empathy among all people. In addition, we embrace practical common sense and justice. As Satanists, we all should be guided by our conscience to undertake noble pursuits.
The whole world's got to become Satanists. Do you know Jesus was tempted to become a Satan worshipper? Did you know that?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, bow down to me, I'll give you all the kingdoms of the world.
Give you the world, and that's what he gives you. Give the world and death and hell.
Yeah. But clothing himself as an angel of light. But Mark, they're talking here about conscience. They're talking here about benevolence. They're talking here about justice. And yet they also go on to say that basically Satan is a metaphor and science really reigns as king. So how would you answer them? If you come across a Satanist, someone's out witnessing, people who watch our program, they come across a Satanist, and they have this kind of naturalistic, atheistic or Gnostic worldview, and they start to say, I'm just going to keep going.
Program's up.
What would you say to them, Mark?
You know, Freud said, do it if it feels good to you. And Satanists have kind of come along with the help of Anton LaVey and have grabbed a hold of that phrase and have adopted it as their own. Do it if it feels good to you. And good is just kind of a word that we throw around, but when it comes to morality, how do you begin to define it? How do you define good? And this is really the hang-up that atheists, agnostics, Satanists alike are going to have trouble doing. Because what may be good for them may not be good for me, may not be good to her or him or you two guys over in the other studio. So we need to have a definition of good outside of ourselves, because good to somebody might be flying a plane into Twin Towers, and for somebody else it may not be a good thing.
Right.
Somebody say, hey, good to me is providing for my family, donating my time, talent, and treasure to local charitable organizations, not cheating on my wife. I think these are very good things. But somebody with the same worldview, who might be an atheist as well, or a Satanist, or whoever it may be, a relativist, for example, will say, well, good for me, and I'm a good person, is cheating on my wife, cheating on my taxes. I do believe in donating my time, talent, and treasure to local charitable organizations. And what is my favorite? Al-Qaeda.
Right.
So who are we to say that what they do is wrong? Is it because it goes against the societal norm? Does society get to determine what is right and what is wrong? And the major problem that we have with that, without getting into a huge Bible study here, is that you'll never have a social reformer. You can never go against society, because society has dictated what is right and wrong, good and bad.
Yeah.
So when a social reformer begins to pop up and say, hey, wait a minute, slavery is wrong, or you begin to fight for social injustices the way Martin Luther King Jr. did, what happens? Well, you're going to have him, the social reformer, as a social moral outcast, because they're going against the societal norm when society gets to dictate what is good and bad.
Right.
So society cannot dictate what is good and bad, because what's accepted in the gym in the morning is not acceptable at a dinner party at night. So is it one person, two people, is it 10 people? Is it a city? Is it a county? Is it a state? How do you begin to define what a society is? And we can't forget the ever-popular society of Nazi Germany, because they believed one thing, we may believe another thing, but who is right? We need an objective standard outside of ourselves, and this is where God comes into the picture. Now somebody can say, hey, well, I don't have God telling me what is right and wrong, and I know murder is wrong, I know rape is wrong, I know stealing is wrong, but the reason why they know that it's wrong is because, well, once again, they have to borrow from our worldview. They have a conscience. And God has been so gracious and so kind to give them a conscience so that they know that lying is wrong, stealing is wrong, murdering and rape is wrong. But if we're just evolving and there is no right or wrong and morals are evolving, then you have to be open to the idea and the fact that rape can be a beautiful thing, whether in times past or maybe sometime in the future. But no one would dare say that if they are in their right mind.
Right. Ray, Mark mentioned the conscience, and I heard you a long time ago say something about the conscience. I was trying to remember what that is.
I think if I remember correctly, means with. And, you know, the reason he's laughing is because I've said this 6 million, well, I've said this trillion times.
I said it yesterday.
Can you hear the word without thinking that, Ray? With size knowledge.
I've said it so many times.
Right.
But that's what it means. It means with knowledge, and it's as simple as that. And God has given us each knowledge of right and wrong. We can't get away from it. A conscience is supposed to be a friend, but most of us treat it like it's an enemy, because it upsets us when we're doing things we want to do, and conscience says, it's like an impartial judge in the courtroom of the mind. We want to get away from conscience, and that's what atheism's all about. It's get away from the conscience and the moral law and the authority of God. So conscience just means with knowledge.
Yeah, and you know, Mark, the point you made about the moral reformer being, in essence, immoral is such a great point. Because if, again, society dictates what is moral and someone crops up against the majority, they're immoral.
Yes.
And by what standard do we judge that they're right now, you know?
But the world judges by might is right.
Yeah.
If you've got the most strength, the most power, the most people, then what you say is right. That's why Hitler was able to do what he did, because he had the might to say it.
And yet they won't admit that, and they're inconsistent because they'll say, well, it's, you know, majority rule, and yet when a reformer crops up and says, hey, homosexual marriage is okay, or maybe later pedophilia is okay, or polyamory is okay, or whatever, then they're okay.
What's polyamory?
Oh, remember we talked about it.
It reminded me.
Yes.
What is
polyamory? Is many people marrying each other.
Oh, okay.
Well, if you're bisexual, then you should be able to marry a man and a woman, because...
Right. We were going to deal with that question that came up yesterday about that Muslim guy. If he is... Alan asked it. Someone asked, the Muslim guy's got 3 wives.
Right.
Comes to Christ. What does he do? Divorce 2? Sue and I laughed about that, because I really don't know what I would say.
Yeah.
Keep a couple as housemates.
Missionaries... missionaries they face those sorts of dilemmas. And
It is a dilemma.
Yeah, and we'll probably deal with that directly one day.
Well, Mark can deal with it.
Yeah, we'll send it to Mark. Now, friends, we're going to show you the track that we told you about yesterday that we're extremely excited about. So, if we have that video, let's play it.
That's amazing.
What?
Isn't that neat?
That is one of a kind.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
What? Whoa. Wait, I didn't. Oh, okay. I'm thoroughly confused.
Yeah, it's an amp. You put it behind that and just touch that. It comes out.
That is so cool.
You know, I've had that app for, what, 9 or 10 months,
Right.
and I am so, it doesn't work with Androids. But we're trying.
Rub it in, Ray.
We've got to go working on it. But I've never had such success in giving out tracts as I have with that. I think I've probably done it 200 times, and I don't think, not one rejection.
That's
People
amazing.
just see it as a kind of a miracle.
Yeah,
And I
it's
don't
truly
tell them it's
confuzzling.
not. Yes, it is confuzzling.
Like
That
our
was- that
friend
was
said
funny.
on there.
Someone has to
Yes.
make up words.
And it's available for a number of different tracts. that we
I
have.
think 9 tracks.
Yeah, a lot of our IQ tests and the little card tracks, and it really does work well. So
And it doesn't
decide on
take
there.
any skill. People say, how'd you do that? Well, if you can move your thumb, you can do it.
But it really is. I mean, it's puzzling. You see that, and
Yeah,
it just,
I mean, just seeing that footage, I mean, I've seen it hundreds of times. It still
yeah,
fascinates
it
me.
still, blows the mind. All right, friends. Well, now we're going to go on to some questions. This is from Logan. I'm 15 years old, living with my mom. Good. I hope you are. We are attending a church, but have not become members yet because, 1, I'm very young, both age and spiritually, and 2, I really want a church that has the gospel right. The pastor is very passionate, and I believe he realizes the overall problem with the modern church. However, his evangelism doesn't include the law. I was wondering if you could tell me how I should approach my pastor. Can you give me guidance? You are a very articulate
No,
young
no, no.
15-year-old
His mother
Logan.
helped him write
His
this.
mother
It's
helped him.
exactly what I thought when I read this. This guy is so articulate, so mature, and he writes so well. And I thought, no, Mum
Yeah,
just went
Mom
ahead.
did it.
Well, let us know, Logan, if we're wrong.
Yeah. So, Ray, what do you say to Logan? He's looking
I
for
would
a
say to
church.
him, yeah, with the pastor who doesn't preach the law, I would give him a copy of God Has a Wonderful Plan for Your Life, if possible. And don't say, read this, it'll do you good, you need to clean up your doctrine. Just say, could you possibly read this? It's wonderfully written.
It's confusing.
Right.
Yes, it's humbly wonderfully written. It's easy to read. It's a short book, and I'd like to know what you think of it. It's important to me. Have
Yeah.
that sort of attitude, and you never know, he might read it, and it may happen to him. It happened to a lot of people. They say, hey, the law is so important at evangelism.
Yeah. Mark, that's a dilemma for a lot of people. They're in a church and they're deciding whether or not they should become members. Obviously, that's a real serious step. How would you advise someone who's in a church that maybe isn't passionate about evangelism or isn't getting the gospel right?
Yeah, well, if they are already inside the church, I would do exactly what Ray said. I would even attach the words confuzzled. This book has confuzzled me. Wondering if you can clear that up.
Love that
But
word.
honestly, I might throw in some endorsements of the book and of the teaching
That's
of
a
the
good
ministry.
idea. Yeah.
This has been endorsed by so-and-so and so-and-so. People, obviously, that your pastor would appreciate. And say, will you please get back to me concerning your thoughts on this? Because I'm a little confuzzled. Seems like I'm getting a mixed message from maybe what is being shared in different Sunday school classes and what I'm reading inside the book. And undoubtedly, a pastor more likely will get back to you for that, especially if you're an asset for the church.
Yeah.
You find yourself getting there early to help out, and you're staying there late to help out. He sees you as an asset, not just a pew warmer, so he wants to make sure you are there in the future.
Yeah, and you know what? The way that the pastor responds is also telling, especially if you approach it in humility. If you have a pastor that shuts you down and gets all worked up, believe it or not, it happens. I remember when I was a new believer, I went to a really big mega church with someone. The church
big
was
mega church.
A big, gigantic, ginormous, confuzzled. It was a confuzzled church. But anyway, I went. This church was controversial. I remember at that time, the
Which
Bible
one
Answer
was
Man,
it?
the Bible Answer Man was talking about it. And I went to a service with a relative who went to that church, and I didn't want to go by gossip. I was probably 2 or 3 months old in the Lord. I went up on stage afterwards, stood in the line, waiting to talk to the pastor. And finally my turn came, and, hi, Pastor, how you doing? How you doing? And he was drinking a Coke, you know, and everything was... And then I said, hey, you know, I heard that this and this, you know, is that true? And he tells his wife, hey, you know, tell me what this guy said. And it was all of a sudden this arrogant kind of attitude overtook him. And he goes, you know what, I think this guy, the guy on the radio I heard talk about, I think this guy's an idiot, and his organization's and that. I'm like, whoa. I said, well, you know what, I also heard that you do this. And he goes, listen, kid, pokes me in the chest. I'm like, whoa. All of a sudden, all these guys surround me. It was a biker church. And all these bikers surround. Look at the guys over there all listening. I've never seen Danny so focused in on it.
Oh, that's funny.
That's good, Danny. And he pokes me in the chest. And he goes, listen, kid, you think I got time to sit over here and talk to you about that? You can go hit the road with us. I'm like, oh. You know, I was 16. I weighed about 1.5 pounds. I've gained an ounce since that time. And I was terrified, you know, and I remember I went back to my pastor and told him what happened, and he was angry. He was like, oh, you know, as a shepherd, you know, wanting to protect the sheep. And so anyway, you probably won't get something that crazy, but if you do get an arrogant reply, someone who's just not open to listening or to examining what you want to give them.
Logan goes to that church.
Logan's the pastor of that church. He's pretending to be 15. So anyways, it is important to find a church that's biblically grounded, and also a leadership that's humble and godly. Doesn't mean they're going to agree with everything you say, but at least they have a spirit that's open, that's not authoritarian and going to shut you down. Does that make sense?
So I love that story. It was good.
Oh boy, I still feel the pain in my... It was horrific, seriously.
Was it true?
Yes. I made it up on the spot. All right, friends.
So don't you hear pastors say, this is a true story. So what have you been telling us?
Right. What else have you been saying? All right, on to another question. No. On to another exciting item. The Genoa family and about a dozen young adults from the college group at Foothills Christian Church gave out 1,000 DVDs in an hour at San Diego State University. I assume that's Evolution versus God DVD, right,
Yeah.
Alan?
Oh, that's very
Look
exciting.
at that. 1,000 DVDs in an hour. And that thrills us to no end.
So how many have gone out now?
We are now at over 300,000. Is that correct?
Yes, over 300,000.
300,000.
That is so exciting.
And God is using them to impact the world. Mark, when you were working on EVG, did you imagine that the Lord would do such extraordinary things through it?
I did. You know, I thought that we did have a special project on our hands simply by virtue of the fact that nobody has cornered professors specifically in anthropology and evolution, Darwinian evolution, wanting evidence to support their claims that man has evolved from monkeys. Let me just break it down a little bit. Over millions of years. And here's Ray hitting them up. Give me some evidence. I want some evidence. Now, these are teachers in the subject.
Right.
And they couldn't give anything. And I thought, boy, we sure do have something special. And then day after day, Ray was coming to me and giving me interviews that he was having with students, grad students in these specific areas. And they said, yeah, the evidence is overwhelming. And Ray says, okay, well, let me just make it simple for you. Just give me one example of Darwinian evolution, a change of one species to a different species altogether. Crickets. Nothing was happening. And I went, oh boy, Ray, we sure do have something special here. And more people are watching it online on our YouTube channel. So it's absolutely wonderful. I love it.
So Mark, we really appreciate your integrity in editing. We attempted to put crickets behind those students, but we didn't, because we didn't want to make them look foolish. We wanted them to make themselves look foolish because they were foolish to believe something without having any systems to substantiate it.
You know, Mark, you hit it on the head. I mean, it is unique in terms of professors actually being willing to give an interview like that, and then also really having nothing to say. You know, it's been great. Which again reminds us of the debate that's coming up with our good friend Ken Ham. Yesterday, I almost missed
That was a
his
great
name.
segue there. Nothing to say.
Yeah. And but our good friend Ken Ham, and he's going to be debating Bill Nye, the science guy. CNN just did a piece on it.
I just emailed Ken and let him know that we're praying for him because he certainly needs wisdom, and also pray for Bill Nye.
Yeah.
Pray that God will open his eyes and open his understanding, because it's really not about evolution, it's about salvation.
Amen.
You know, that's just there's a forest behind the trees.
Yeah, and if we know anything about Ken Ham, we know he's going to be faithful to bring the gospel. So be sure to pray for that.
Absolutely.
They sold out of the tickets in 2 minutes.
Yes,
when they
that
put
was
it
just
online.
one lady who's trying to reach her husband.
Her husband, right. Bill Nye's wife. Okay, next question. Email from Janine. I told him...
Hey, look, can we just go back to that satanic statue for a minute?
Yes.
Yeah, there's one thing we can do. If this takes place and they do get a statue, that would be a wonderful rallying point, there it is there, for the gospel.
Yeah.
I'll meet you at the Satan statue. and seriously, in winter you could take hot chocolate, meet people there. You could have free cool drinks in summer. But I mean, the hard thing about witnessing is bringing the subject up.
Right.
And so you just meet someone there and say, what do you think of that? The subject's up, you know? And,
that's such a good idea.
Yeah, so I think it's just a great opportunity to turn a negative, something stupid like this, into a positive for the gospel.
Ray, speak to that for a moment in the time we have left, because I think Christians often panic at times like this. I mean, especially with social media today, there's no more kind of a filter or a stopgate. You know, people would get an idea, they'd get a thought. Who's going to hear about it? There are few friends that they call, and even at that, you know. But now with social media, you know, and people just Satan, you know, they just go crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
So, do we have to panic about stuff like this?
Don't need
Seriously?
to panic about anything when you've got Romans 8:28. You know, in early church, Saul of Tarsus. There's a reason to panic.
Right.
I mean, here's a guy who's creating havoc in the church. He's just
Yeah.
filled with fury against the gospel, holding out, arresting men, women, and children, torturing people, and naturally you want to panic with something like that.
Yeah.
Here's like a little Adolf Hitler running around killing people, torturing them, and yet God had a plan.
Yeah.
God transformed Saul of Tarsus into the Apostle Paul in an instant.
Amen.
And that's what we trust happens with everything. Takes that which Satan means for evil and brings it about for good.
Yeah, and God has done that time and time and time again. And so, friends, we want to encourage you as Christians to remember that God reigns supreme. Again, we've been talking the last couple days about the size of the universe and the God who spans it with his hand.
Remember the basketballs.
Right, the basketballs. We have nothing to worry about. So trust him, love him, worship him, adore him. And remember, we brought you into this comfort zone to get you out of your comfort zone. So get out of there and preach the gospel unto the glory of God. What was that? God bless.
For questions about the Comfort Zone with Ray Comfort, or to submit questions for future shows, please email us at email@tczlive.com. That's email@tczlive.com. The Comfort Zone is an outreach of Living Waters. For more resources to inspire and equip you to fulfill the Great Commission, check out livingwaters.com or call toll-free 1-800-437-1893. Now go and preach the gospel.
Hi, I'm Ray Comfort.
And I'm Kirk Cameron. Think of the terrible fate of those you love if they die in their sins. The Bible makes it very clear that without Christ, they'll spend eternity in the lake of fire. What a terrifying thought. What are you doing to reach them? How can you help them see their need for a Savior?
We've created an exciting and totally unique 8-week training course that will help you to reach them biblically and confidently. This course is based on our award-winning television program, The Way of the Master. It's like nothing you've ever seen.
We know that you battle fear, but we're going to show you how to overcome it by giving you a simple, powerfully effective way to make the gospel make sense to the people you care about.
And he says that if you will repent of your sin and trust in Jesus to save you, that he will forgive you of your sin and grant you eternal life, not just because you're sorry, but because Jesus paid your fine and now he can let you go. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
We'll teach you how to bypass the intellect, the place of argument, and speak directly to the conscience, the place of the knowledge of right and wrong.
When you stand before God on Judgment Day, are you going to be innocent or guilty?
As of now, guilty.
Would you go to heaven or hell?
Probably hell.
Does that concern you, Amanda?
Yeah.
You don't have to be an expert in apologetics or archaeology, and you don't have to know Greek. Just let love swallow your fears and follow in the footsteps of Jesus. And we don't just tell you how to share the gospel, we show you. Through fascinating, real-life conversations, you get to eavesdrop as we witness to people from all walks of life. Gang members, cult members, atheists, intellectuals, on the beach, in parks, on airplanes, and in malls.
I think you've changed my outlook
Though on all of this, definitely have. Makes me wonder if someone is up there. I don't know, but that's something I'll definitely sit down and reflect on, especially after this.
Hey, thanks for talking with me, Kishay. I wish you all the best. God bless you.
This happened for a reason.
I think so too.
Happened for a reason.
Right on, man.
It's a wake-up call.
Have a good day.
You too. Wake-up call. It's about time.
It's simple, it's effective, and biblical. It's what Jesus did.
Sign up for the Way of the Master basic training course in your church. Please don't wait.
Do it for someone you love.